The fellow who's visiting with Jesus, Nicodemus, was one of the great religious leaders of his day. And he had heard about what Jesus was doing. But he wasn't capable of coming to Jesus during the daytime. He sneaks to him at night, so no one would see that he was there. No one would ask any questions. You just sneak in, talk to Jesus, figure out who he was and what he was doing. Jesus starts out this conversation by recalling what Moses did in the desert. And Nicodemus would have known the story pretty well. He probably had it memorized. He probably taught it a lot of times. Jesus is trying to teach him something with just that one sentence. Just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert, so the Son of Man has to be lifted up. You might remember the story in the desert. You know, Moses had come and freed the Israelite people from slavery in Egypt. They had been making bricks. They had been slaving away in Egypt for a long time. Moses came, and with the help of the plagues, they all got out. And they were just so happy, right? They got out, and they were going through the desert, and happy people. No, they're grumpy. Now, the Sinai is not the funnest place to be. In 2015, I climbed Mount Sinai. We did it in the middle of the night because it gets really hot during the day. Plus, we wanted to see the sunrise from Mount Sinai. But it's an area that is just rocks. There's no trees, no grass, doesn't rain. It gets very, very hot during the day. So you might understand why they were complaining. Any of you had to work out in 100-degree heat on a regular basis. And then the food was the same every day. So the people were complaining. At least in Egypt we had cucumbers. Here we just get manna and quail, manna and quail, manna and quail. Same thing every day. In Egypt, at least, we had somewhere to lay our heads. Here, we're in the desert. It's terrible. So they're moaning and groaning. And then snakes come in. Because they moaned and groaned a little too much. And so these snakes come into their camp, get into their tents, or wherever else they're staying, and the snakes bite them. And then people are dying. So they go to Moses and say, we're really sorry. Can you talk to God and see what we should do? So Moses does. He talks to God. And God says, make a seraph serpent image and mount it on a pole, and anybody who looks at it will get healed. Now, it's fascinating to me that Moses didn't just say, couldn't you take the snakes away? What's the deal? The snakes are the problem. Take the snakes away. But no, that's not what God says. God says, make a seraph serpent and mount it on the pole. And so you can just imagine Moses trying to make one out there with little stuff, but he takes maybe some people's jewelry and whatever else they might have, some pots and pans, and with a rock he pounds away and makes it look like a snake. And then maybe he put it on his own staff because he had that staff. And just put it up there, and then he went through the camp with this seraph serpent. And he probably was shouting, look up, look at this, look. And anybody who looked at it was healed. Were the snakes still there? Yeah. The snakes were still there. But they had a medicine. They had a way of not dying. All they had to do was look at it. Great medicine. I wish my medicines were that simple. All I had to do was look at it. All I have to do, I look at it and I'm healed. I'm much better. Just look up. Look at it. It would take us a while as Christians to understand what Jesus was trying to teach to Nicodemus that night. Because it wouldn't be until he is mounted on a pole, with his arms spread wide, with somebody else pounding to make that image. But it is the same message that Moses gave to his people that we get today too. Look up. Look at Jesus. See him mounted on the cross. See what he does for you. Let him in. Let him into your life so that you're free, saved. But by looking up at Jesus on the cross, by inviting him into your life, is he going to take away all your snakes? No. No, the struggles of life remain. The world is the world outside of here. The challenges are still there. What he does is offer you something else in the midst of those challenges. On Sunday morning, when the young woman was down in the lower level of the rectory and just smashing things, destroying things, and I was waiting for the police to arrive, I felt a bit afraid at that moment, but trusting that God would take care of me. I was planning alternate routes out windows, in case she got in, which would be the smallest fall and what would break my fall, those kind of things. And then when the police arrived, they said they needed to get me out of the house because she had tried to start a fire, and they were worried that she would start a fire in the rectory, and they wanted to get me out of there. So the fire department came, and I crawled out the window and down the ladder to get away. It was an experience, a real vivid experience of being saved. I was in danger, and now I wasn't in danger. I had been rescued. The chaos still went on for another 3.5 hours, waiting for SWAT and everybody to be there before they removed her from the house. But I could be at peace because I had been saved. I was not in danger anymore, even though the chaos was still going on all around me. So just a kind of very physical, lived experience of the spiritual reality of what Jesus offers to you and to me. To be plucked out of the chaos. Spiritually, to be enlivened, transformed, made different, while you still remain in this world. And the first step doesn't require much. The healing comes just by looking up and letting him in. Once you let Jesus in, the transformation happens deeper and deeper all the time. He wants, as you heard very clearly in that gospel, to save you and me. God did not send the Son in the world to condemn it, but to save it. God's intent is for life, for you, for me, forever.